And we're live. Hello, and thanks for tuning in. This is the SuperBoss Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Luc Tran. I'm joined by my co-host Harrison Ngo and Ian Eatwell. Say hello, guys.
What up?
Hello.
All right, we're a podcast. We talk about what's going on in the nerd world, ranging from movies, comics, mainly video games, because we are playing a lot of video games right now because of certain medical things.
If you haven't heard.
If you're a new listener, the way we start out is we talk about what we've been up to lately, what we've been playing, what we've seen, and we'll briefly talk about any cool news that's been going on the past week or so before we jump into the main topic. So without further ado, let's talk about what we've been playing this past week.
Can I just say, what if somebody was in a coma or something and they just like wake up in the middle of this? It's like, what?
They wake up. I really want to listen to an up and coming podcast about video games. Let's pick. They just so happen to pick ours. Got them.
Because of a medical condition. How'd they know?
We talked a little bit beforehand before the podcast started, but Harrison, tell me about what you've been up to lately.
Yeah. So with my free time right now, which is great, been playing a lot of. I've been trying to figure out what to play. It's so funny. Like when you have time, you actually look at your catalog and you're like, where do I even start? What do I even do? But I finally started. Been playing more Final Fantasy. Actually, making progress. I think last time we talked about it, I was on chapter 6, but I just got to chapter 10, so that was like after sector 6, I believe. It's all a blur now. It's like that gaming town or whatever. It's like this town that has like a
the
lot
Golden
of
Saucer.
No. It has like the Honeybee Inn and all that, and then you have to like go in. Yeah, so has all that. Oh my god, this game is so. It's like it feels like it's been a long time where I just played like a game that just. It just feels like wacky, right? Like, but it's like a video game. And it's like, I don't know how to. Like, it's like the whole like I just did like a side mission where you had to go to a gym and you do the squat like challenge.
Yeah,
I just did
Okay,
that.
I get you.
Yeah, it's like that kind of thing. It's like, oh, this is like Final Fantasy, but here I am doing like a squat challenge with three buff dudes, and it's and then there's a dance sequence. I don't remember it being in the old one it was probably just more like, oh, you still hit the buttons, but this one was like actually kind of hard because they placed it's not like in a triangles on top, X's on bottom, like in the positions. It's just like as like the choreography is going, all of a sudden you'll randomly see, oh, an X is right there. If you don't pay attention, you'll miss it with the timing and all. It's just it's wild. It's fucking great.
yeah. I feel like at least I guess I'll say going on that. I
Yeah.
feel like a lot of the really mainstream or the really big AAA games
Yeah.
don't go into that like goofy territory.
Oh,
But
yeah.
like way back in the 90s, you would have wacky stuff like, oh yeah, our main character is going to cross dress to save
Yeah.
one of your other characters.
Yeah. It's
But
just it
like I'm
feels
thinking of GTA 5 or
yeah.
Red Dead 2 or God of War,
Uh-huh.
even like Spider-Man, where you don't really see a lot of goofy stuff. Like
Yeah.
that level
Yeah.
of we're being very serious about a very goofy scene. It's really
Yeah.
funny to think
And
about.
I think that's more like present in JRPGs too. Like that's where you'll see
I
a
guess
lot of that.
maybe that's why.
Yeah, that's probably why. Yeah, it's like a JRPG. You're
Yeah,
more likely to
I guess
see that.
I might rescind my comment.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. It's I haven't played one in so long, and like I mean, the last one I played was like one of the Tales one, and even then, it's just like they have the humor, but like the sequence is not this. It's not like this. It's like this was brought back because I'm sure like people wanted to like, oh, Final Fantasy. What if they cut all this stuff out? Well, they didn't cut out this
Yeah,
sequence, I guess.
I guess because even if you look into the Yakuza series, that is so incredibly out there.
Yeah,
I think
Yeah.
maybe it's okay, just a JRPG thing. I
it's
will
right. Yeah,
amend my statement.
and like Japanese, like
But like the fact that it's like a AAA JRPG,
oh
I
yeah.
think just adds a little more that little touch of
Mm-hmm.
like someone who doesn't know any better, like, oh, I've heard so many great things about Final Fantasy series, Final Fantasy VII Remake,
Yeah.
and they play it expecting like
Yeah.
something else.
Somebody had to program that too.
No,
Like somebody
no,
programmed.
it was like whoever animated that, like it was legit like dance moves, and I'm like, this is actually really fun to watch. But meanwhile, because like I'm streaming it to my girlfriend too, as like she's like working on her apps. It's just like her way to just like keep up with it, and also just because I want to play it. But she's like, wow, this looks so good. Meanwhile, I'm like, where's the X? Where's the circle? Where do I click?
You're just panicking inside.
Yeah, I'm like, man, this would be so fun to watch if I was actually watching. But like, there's points where I'm like, oh, this is really funny. Oh my god, I'm losing my shit. And then, and that's only because I literally did that like an hour ago. So that's why it's fresh in my mind. I was like freaking out. I was like, this is great. Just seeing, yeah, seems great. If you haven't played Final Fantasy and you have, just play this one. This one's great. And then,
What have you been up to, Ian? What's been on the docket?
Let me see. I've been playing. So I've been still continuing with Hollow Knight. Still fun. Still, I'm slowly chipping away at it because it is like, it's huge. It's just big. But it's still fun. I still enjoy it.
are you further than where you were last time?
Yeah, a little bit. I'm at like a point where you're kind of having to backtrack and go to these. You have to go to these little tree things that you kept seeing like randomly, and then you have to actually like get those and do a whole thing with those. I'm at a point where it's like you have to kill or you have to find first and then fight three like big boss people.
Mhm.
So I don't know like how far I am into that. It seems like after you do that, maybe there will be like and now the final boss thing is happening. So maybe like I'm semi close. I don't know. And I'm playing back into Trails of the Sky. Trails in the Sky. That's it. Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky. I'm at the final part on that finally, where it's just it's like the whole trope of final boss is like 3 different forms and you have to fight 3 different versions of them and stuff
Wait,
like
is
that.
this part 2, right?
No, this is the first one. Still,
Oh.
this is chapter 1. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Man, that's hard. Like, so I've been running through it, and the game has never been like too difficult. And so I got to a point. You're like in the final like dungeon, I guess, and I was running through it, and I was like, wow, these enemies are a little bit harder than normal. It's kind of it's weird, but whatever. I'll just kind of go through it. Maybe I'll like run away when I don't want to grind. And like there are like 2 points where like your party meets up with you, and it's like, hey, this is like the last. We're like halfway through. We need to make sure we're like strong enough and stuff. And then you get to the last part, and it's like, hey, before we go into this door, we should really make sure we're thorough and we got everything. And I'm like, I'm fine. It's fine. I got it. And so I like go in and I get my ass handed to me by the final boss. It's like, all right, I completely missed the
hints.
cues. Yeah, the hints where it's like, hey, now is the time to grind if you need to grind.
It's like, hey man, I don't think we're good yet. Want to go?
But before that point, were you ever having any? Like you said, you weren't having any trouble. So
Yeah,
it's kind of a weird.
it is because like I never had any
It's a very
trouble, and
subtle
then
cue. Yeah.
the difficulty spike in the last dungeon is actually pretty like substantial.
Oh,
It's interesting.
so you wouldn't have known, really?
I get. Well, no, I mean maybe it is. It is like, hey, these enemies are really hard. Maybe I should like grind on them until they become easy. I guess, but I don't know. But yeah, I'm just trying to finish that at this point.
Do you have anything else planned after you finish, or? You're just gonna play it by ear.
Yeah, I put something on. Here it is. I'm between two things. At least for my like leisure time gameplay. It's between Dragon's Dogma and
It's a fun game.
Dragon Quest, the new one.
Oh, you got that?
Yeah, hey, remember when Steam had that sale of all these?
Oh, you actually got it? Oh,
dude, I made
you weren't kidding.
I made a questionable financial decision of like I want all of these games. They're all on sale. I have the PayPal $100 credit thing. So I just bought $100 worth of video games.
I thought you were joking.
No, I actually.
You were serious?
Yeah, but it's good. It's cool because it turns out like I got all those great games for like if I pay it off within that 6-month interest period, it's $17 like per game basically.
Man.
Super cheap, really great.
Oh man,
I have no regrets.
No, it's fine. I just didn't believe you. That's all.
I'll say now we wait and maybe a couple months later we ask, "Hey, have you played any of those games yet?" Ian?
Right?
It's like, no, I'm really into this new like roguelike that never ends and takes up all my time.
God,
The classico.
classic.
Yeah, that's about it for me. What about you?
Nah, I've been, at least in my free time, I've been playing a lot more Division 2. Because
Mhm.
I finally, like, I was at that point where I finished up all the story stuff. So now I did all the jumps to get to endgame, and now I'm in the endgame. And it's actually pretty, pretty fun for me.
Awesome.
As you guys know, and maybe some of our listeners who've watched or listened to some of our earlier ones, we would only talk about Destiny 2. But yeah, Division 2 is a different looter shooter, and I think part of the fun of Division that I think Destiny just won't catch up on unless they like overhaul their game is the RPG aspects. Like there are way more stats to keep track of
Mhm.
in Division 2. And so it
Oh, really?
makes actually thinking about your build and your gear actually important. Because the way, I mean, one, in Destiny 2, there really isn't a really strong difference between what you have. Even in Division 2, you have like the Holy Trinity of you have a DPS, your tank, and your healer. And Destiny 2 kind of does all of that. Like, obviously, some classes do things a little better. Like, hunters have pretty big DPS supers. Titans have your defensive supers, and warlocks have your well. But outside of that, things are like all the classes can kind of do everything.
Yeah.
But you can spec in Division 2 really hard into one spec. Like right now,
Oh,
I'm trying to
really?
get a feeling for this skill build where my guns do decent damage, but all of my damage comes from just throwing out like skills.
Uh,
And so I have to like I'm sitting there. I'm actually sitting there and like comparing like okay, well, this chest piece gives me 2.4 weapon damage percentage increase. But this other chest piece gives me like a whole new skill tier. And so like there's a lot more depth to builds in Division. I think
okay.
I'm not one to like I don't make builds. I usually tend to follow along with someone else's idea, but I'm having a lot more fun just sitting there and thinking, okay, I need a skill build. What kind of things do I need?
It's like
And so
the theory crafting for
it's like baby's first theory crafting.
yeah.
Because even in Monster Hunter, I made this really jank longsword build, but
Yeah.
like it was really fun. But
I love it.
I remember. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, here's my question: can I make in Division 2? Can I make a big, tanky,
Yes.
suppressive fire dude like George from Reach, Halo
Yes.
Reach?
Absolutely. So
Glorious.
it is great. I watched this guy. He made up like, hey, this is legitimately an invincible build. Because so there's a new exotic in the expansion, which you'd have to get the expansion to get. but it's a light machine gun, and there is no reloading. It will just keep shooting its ammo reserve. And the thing is, once you've shot 100 bullets, it just refills all of its ammo. So
Oh,
you literally can just hold the trigger and just walk around.
All right, forget all those games I bought. I'm gonna buy Division 2.
wait,
But
did you not buy it when it was cheap?
nah, I think he missed that window.
Yeah, I don't think I did.
We damn it, Ian.
I
You
was,
paid
yeah,
$100, and I'm like, hey, bro, it's like $5. It was like cheap as hell that day.
I
It's
was
$3.
like,
That's what it
yeah,
was.
but it's like I'm not gonna.
Ah,
yeah, I'm not
$3 is too much. It's okay.
I'll spend $100 on these other games.
$100. Yeah, okay.
No, but like I think that's one thing too. I wish just a little more Destiny could touch up on is because even in Division 2, you have to be really good and your team has to be really good, but you could probably run through most content without trying to figure out like, hey, we need DPS tanks and all that.
Sorry, wait. Are
But
we talking about
I'm talking about
Destiny
Division
or
2. Division 2 right now.
Okay.
Division 2.
Division.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I was like comparing both, but really like in Division 2, I'm saying
Mhm.
is you can spec into like a tank or a support, and it makes a huge difference just in like running through content.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Like
And
how
so
you go about encounters and
yeah,
stuff.
like having a tank. I've only played solo, but I've watched a lot of Division 2 content just to like get a feel for, how people play certain builds.
Mhm.
But watching a group without a tank versus with a tank, it's like night and day.
Oh,
Wow.
Because the DPS can just run around, like not have to worry about anything, because the tank is just waddling out in the open, suppressing everything in sight, and just like, hey, I regen all my armor and you can't break through it, so I'm invincible.
Glorious.
It's really funny.
Oh my god.
But I was saying, so I'm in the end game now, and there's
Uh-huh.
still a lot of things to do. It's one really nice because, um, I guess I'm gonna do a little bit of spoiling for how the game plays through. But like as you progress through the story, there are certain they call them control points that
Mhm.
you can choose to liberate. You don't have to, and they act as like little fast travel points.
Mm.
At a certain point in the game, a new faction shows up, and once that new faction shows up, all of like the control you've set up over the entire map just goes out the window. And so every single faction now fights for all these control points. And so it's very much the game trying to make it feel dynamic,
Okay.
because like you don't even have to be there, but NPCs can take a control point for your team, or another faction could just take it from you, and like it just happens. There's no input from you.
Okay.
But
That's
once you
cool.
hit a certain level of difficulty, because there's like tiers of difficulty,
Mhm.
once you hit 4 and above, what's really fun is each control point has like 3 or 4 activities associated with it if it's captured by an enemy team. And if you do all those objectives before going to the control point gets harder and harder.
Yeah.
And so
Oh.
just for kicks, I've never done it before. I made one go to level 4, which is the highest,
Uh-huh.
and it legitimately took me like 20 minutes trying to clear it
Oh,
because the enemies are really tough.
right.
But it wasn't like, oh god, like this is a mistake, because I could kill everything. It just like I couldn't just walk around without cover. I had to play the game like a cover-based shooter. Wow, look at that. But
Quick
Cool.
question. You know how in the first one the big complaint was always like, "Oh, there's just bullet sponges." Does it feel
yeah.
that way when it's higher?
Um so right now,
Bullet sponges, as in like for those like essentially you just have to just keep shooting at it and it'll
yeah.
just eventually just die.
Um
But there's like, is there like because I remember they mentioned there mechanics on how to just go around that. Like, oh, this enemy has armor.
for some,
Some okay,
yeah, there's the tank archetype character,
right.
and they're super bullet spongy or tanky because they're wearing really high grade armor. You can break off the armor and then they die.
Okay.
Same with like there are these drones that they're pretty beefy, but they have exposed weak points.
Okay.
The thing
Okay.
is, like some other enemies, like the standard, just the soldier or a grenadier, they're kind of beefy.
Okay.
I will say things are still pretty powerful for me, but um, my build isn't optimized one at all,
Okay.
and I haven't gone through the super difficult stuff again using my new skills, because
Okay.
now my skills do way more damage. than what my gun can do.
Mhm.
See.
So at that point, I would say when I took that one control point, they did feel bullet spongy for my gun, but I could easily defeat. Like it was easy to focus fire if I had my skills up.
Okay. Okay.
Um, yeah, I
Okay.
th- I
But
think
there's more
people
variety, I
people
guess.
will experience bullet sponges until a certain point, and
Mhm.
then once your gear, because I was also like in a transitionary period where, oh, I just unlocked a new world tier, so my gear scores increased, but my gear scores really low, so a lot of gear score numbers, blah blah blah. But what were you
Mhm.
gonna say?
Oh no, I was just asking like so. There's at least there's some variety because I feel like before it was like the higher the difficulty, it just felt like oh they just have more health.
Like yeah, there's like they are. It's all relative
Relatively.
because
Mhm.
like if I had a pure DPS build, then
Mhm.
it'd be fine
Okay.
because like my gun does a lot of damage. I would have a lot of damage oriented stats and stuff, but I don't.
Okay.
Um, but even then, like yeah, I just want to limit test it with my new skills because it's it's only on the very highest difficulty, which is heroic. That's their highest difficulty. That's the one where I tend to have a little bit of trouble, or not.
Mhm.
I don't. I have. It takes longer to
Mhm.
finish stuff. I guess I'll say because even in challenging, I can run through challenging pretty easily with my skill build.
Okay.
But I'm having a lot of fun with the game.
Yeah. No, it sounds really fun. It
Yeah.
sounds a lot better than when Katzen talked about it before. So I'm like actually
Yeah, no.
probably
When he
interested to
was
think about
playing
that.
it, it was like,
It's
especially
like,
because he likes to play. When he played Division One, he played healer, which is based
right.
on skills, but skills were garbage back then. Skills
Uh-huh.
are actually considered really powerful now, so
Okay.
Cool.
So
Yeah, I will say
it's
the
fun.
the whole bullet sponge thing. The in the first one, I remember a boss where we were on a roof, and there were a bunch of cover boxes and stuff like that. But I just remember just sit is for minutes, just unloading clips into this guy, and he's just like a dude.
Yep.
But I
yeah,
think we played the beta for the second one, or maybe it
yeah,
was
we played the beta.
okay. Yeah. That one, the boss for that one was this dude in this heavy ass armor, and he was more of a turret because he wouldn't move very fast, but he could do a lot
He
of
would
damage.
hold you down by shooting at you and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. And it had the whole mechanic where you can shoot off pieces of armor.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I remember
Just
that.
that those little changes like that made it it made the immersion so much better, which made it so much more fun, I
Mhm.
guess. And just the narrative made sense where it's oh, it's really thick armor. Okay, yeah, that makes
Yeah, it
sense.
makes sense that he would eat up a bunch of shots.
Yeah, yeah. So I really like the Division 2 for that. That was cool.
Yeah, like, I definitely think it's worth
I
checking out again.
need to
Like,
check it out again.
yeah,
Yeah.
I would if people were, like, in our group were like, "Hey, what's something else we can play?" I'd be like, like, we'd have to, like, get you through, like, all the story stuff, but Division 2 is feeling pretty fun now, so that's
Okay.
probably
Cool.
I'll be down. Because
I'll probably
I
keep
mean
playing that after we're done recording, so
Nice.
yeah, definitely gonna give it a shot just because I know I remember just check now. Yeah, I do have it. So
I will say the one thing that sucks is sometimes using weapons, like certain classes of weapons, just don't feel very effective. That's my
mm,
one gripe, and it
Oh,
doesn't
okay.
affect me too much because I don't use like sniping for me. I'm a bad sniper because I can't aim well, but it definitely feels kind of weak.
oh.
Hmm.
I know, like Harrison, you really like to snipe, so
Oof.
it might be different because like I've never ever optimized a build for sniping only, so maybe
Oh, okay.
that's why.
It might be different. Yeah. Okay.
But that's maybe my one complaint.
Definitely will probably give this a shot.
Yeah, yeah. I'm definitely
Yeah,
re-interested in it.
it's fun. I'm having a lot of fun.
Which is important.
Gaming should be fun.
Tell that to all the people in League who scream at me
Oh,
whenever I make
God.
I was
bad
just about to say, I walked into Ian's room one day and I see him playing League and I watched him for 5 minutes. I didn't think I said it to him. I was like, "You find this fun?" I was just
Oh, yeah,
genuine
yeah.
question. I was like, "Is this
W-
fun to you or
Were
is
you
it?"
playing solo queue, Ian? Because that's probably the problem.
Yeah, I was playing solo.
I think that was
Solo
solo
queue is a cesspool.
Yeah, I do inherently find the game fun, but there are the the social community aspect of it's very
When part of your fun
interesting.
relies on other people
Tail as
who
old
you
as time.
don't talk to or don't know, that's
Mhm.
where I'm just like, nah, this ain't fun anymore.
They talk bad
So
about my
I hate
mom,
playing
and I
with
don't feel
randos.
good. Dude, that's like classic. And it was just really funny how like you even brought up League. I'm like, yeah, I just saw you play it. I'm like, I don't find this fun. Even like thinking about me playing it, I just But
Yeah,
what's important is you
which
having
is
fun.
okay. Yeah, no, it's totally
Yes.
okay to not find it fun. Yeah. But yeah, it's oh man, when people when like I never engage with people in that game. I don't want to talk too much about this, but I never engage with people too much in that. My communication with my team is the different pings that you can do, for different things like, "Hey, I'm coming here," or "Hey, I need help here." I never like people will get so tilted and they'll get so mad, and it's just ridiculous to me. I'm like, you're if you're gonna get so aggravated, why are you here?
Because they find the game fun. You're
Yeah,
just
I guess,
bad.
but
All right,
You're
whatever.
just
yeah,
Let's move on. Let's move on.
yeah.
that
No,
that community has been toxic for years, and that'll never change. So
it'll never change. It's nothing new. Anyway,
What what kind of stuff have you heard about? What's the
oh
news in
shit.
the gaming world right now?
Who's getting what?
I think we all want to talk. Let's all just agree. We'll all briefly mention Ghost of Tsushima because it was the new the PlayStation demo they had. It was like what 18
Uh,
minutes? Was it 18
yeah,
minutes
it
of
was 18.
gameplay?
Yeah, it's like almost. It was 18, I think.
I
Yes.
know Ian didn't watch it, but you
no,
obviously you've heard of Ghost of Tsushima. We've talked
yes,
about it before.
I'm super interested in that game. Yeah.
Um, Harrison, what were your thoughts on Ghosts?
Okay, so I like I'm after watching it, I'm so down. I'm ready. Because I remember it was like between Sekiro and then this one. I was like, I think I'm more into Ghost of Tsushima. And then but they didn't really show too much like gameplay. They showed it before, but I was like, I think
Yeah,
like
they
two.
showed mainly mechanics.
Yeah, mechanics, yes.
Okay. I
But
was gonna ask like what kind of stuff they showed.
initially they showed how you explore the world, like how you
That I
traverse.
think was really interesting. I do like
Yes.
that system.
He was and, like, essentially it's like, oh, how do you find new things? What kind of signals do they show? Like, oh, you should probably check this out
Yeah, like
without saying
so
anything.
you have there's the overworld obviously. You can mark stuff on your map,
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
and I didn't pay too much attention to the UI, but basically one of the main ways to keep track, like compass wise, you push a little button, and basically the wind will blow in the direction that you want to be going.
What?
Yeah.
So it's like a nice little. It's very unintrusive. Of like,
Mhm.
hey, that village you wanted to visit was that way because the wind's blowing that way.
Yeah.
It's like
It was like
very
it's
quick and
very
easy. There's no like taking out of the moment to moment to let me open my map again and make sure I'm going the
yeah.
right way.
And I think the UI was very minimal at that, like when you mentioned it, because there's not much UI to look at, but like it's like a
Yeah.
quick. I don't know if that's on purpose or it's like a demo thing or if it's legit just minimal.
Yeah.
Because there's like a quick they had a quick wheel or like the four directions. Like you
Yeah,
don't really get to
it
see
was basically on your D-pad.
yeah,
There's
it's on your D-pad.
make the wind blow, call your horse, and another
Yeah,
thing.
something like
Okay.
that.
But they
Yeah.
also talk about how one of the big things of the game is discovery. And
Mhm,
Mhm.
so there's just a lot of like, oh, if you see a smokestack in the distance, that's a character.
mhm.
Or
Yeah,
if you see like certain animals, if you follow them, will guide you to
to
a
like a
hidden
set.
treasure or a hidden temple or something.
Mhm.
So it definitely seems very minimalist in terms of how you're engaged with the game.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was a plus one for me. I really like when the game just kind of lets you wander and doesn't bombard you with, hey, there's a thing here, 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 here.
Mm.
It's just up to the player to be like, that looks interesting. Let me go that way.
Yes, I
Yeah.
thought it was very interesting. And then I think the other part was they showed like play styles. So like for instance, you could play like a fully armored samurai and just go into town and
Yeah,
like
just wading into fights.
yeah. And I don't know if this is just because like day night or day night cycle you have to play a certain way, or if it's just like the best way to show. Because then they show at nighttime you could become like the ghost and you essentially play ninja style.
Oh,
Yeah,
It
okay.
but
it felt very in the ninja one was very Assassin's Creed
Yeah, it did.
Cool.
because it was like you're like stepping on edges of walls and creeping around and like, oh, if I'm above this character, I can push square to assassinate, and you jump on them and assassinate them.
Yeah,
Mm.
they showed a lot more swordplay in this one too, and it just looked really cool. It looked very.
It's the when they showed off the combat, that's kind of almost where I felt a little bit of pause
Okay.
because
Or I
kind of
guess
along the same way of the assassin playing as like
you're right.
a very
Actually,
open samurai. It felt very like for better or for worse, it felt very Assassin's Creed.
yeah, like you're just waiting to counter. I do remember this now, and it was. I think that was my one. That was my one gripe. I was like, oh no, is this just like a wait to
Especially
counter
like
again?
for me, I think Sekiro kind of spoiled me because that I think had a very
That's
tight flow of how to play a very open up in front dueling samurai character.
agreed. Yeah,
Whereas Ghost felt I really I want more to see, but
it
the
looked.
the gameplay felt I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I think like that's why I was like the day. I don't know if like day night you have to follow that because at night, yeah, it felt more Assassin's Creed. But
Mhm.
that's not. It wasn't a bad thing because it looked really cool. It looked
Right.
had these cool mechanics and everything.
I will say they did have they touched on a couple other things that I think you, Ian, will love
Oh, really? Okay.
because the character customization looked really
Oh
good.
yeah. Oh
Okay. Wow.
yeah. That's so
So
cool.
so what's it? Did they say anything about like how the story was going or anything like
No,
that?
they didn't
Nope.
talk about the
They
story at
didn't
all.
touch it.
Interesting.
Nope.
Okay.
Just in a vacuum, here's some gameplay, here's some mechanics. They
Interesting.
did talk about like um the armor you pick will have bonuses depending on
Yeah.
your playstyle. So that will be
Cool.
kind of interesting because
Because it's like if you don't like a certain armor,
yeah, but
you're
like you
kinda
really like the way it looks, but it's bad for your playstyle. That's whatever. It's a
it
single
comes
player
with
game,
that effect, you know.
Yeah.
So
but there's like there are charms you can equip that'll have special bonuses.
mm.
Sick.
Uh,
Is it
What?
character customization like a I don't know, Dark Souls is the first thing that
No,
comes to mind?
it's just armor.
Oh, armors. Okay. Okay. So there is like a
A set character.
character. There's
Yes.
like a
Yeah,
okay.
you are
Interesting.
playing the ghost,
Okay.
but he can. Then you might be able to change his hair because it may just be like if you wear a helmet or not.
Mm-hmm.
But they had a couple of customization stuff. You can change the color of your armor. What's really cool is they didn't touch on this too much. They have a reputation system.
Oh yeah, they didn't touch on that too much.
Because like when they open the map, you can see like the legend of the ghost,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
there's like a little meter of like this is your notoriety.
Oh, that's cool.
But they talk about they showed it off in the open samurai style melee combat, but
Mm.
certain enemies they'll just like get scared and then run away from you, or they'll try and just not fight you anymore because of either of your reputation or you're just so scary.
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's cool. It
And
it kind of reminds me of like I haven't played a ton of it, but the Shadows of Mordor kind of thing, except
Yeah,
without the like without the I maybe like a reverse system, or instead of like the enemies have like this reputation that you figure out it's you.
mhm. Yeah, it has someone like that.
Yeah.
And then I will say, like, I think I saw one person comment on this, and I think it's a pretty close one, just based on like the open world aspect of it. It
Uh-huh.
feels very Breath of the Wild in a sense,
yeah.
where
A lot
it
of
just
people I
kind of
heard a
lets you
lot of that
know,
too.
like, you can just kind of go wherever you want. I
Yeah.
don't know how much of that would be the case because it's like, oh, you have this overworld, can you actually go wherever you want, and it doesn't matter, or, but it does
Mm.
kind of have that feeling. So
Cool.
like
Yeah.
they want you to explore. They want you to go around and check out like all these nooks and crannies and like find what you can.
Mm-hmm.
So because you do still pick up random like or I guess like materials to like probably
Yeah,
upgrade.
there's like little. It's almost like Horizon
Cool.
Zero Dawn, where like as
Yeah,
you're riding, you'll pass by like a bamboo stalk. You just push X to pick up bamboo
yeah,
stalks.
Yeah. Okay. So like the classic kind of like open worldy type stuff. That's cool.
Yeah,
yeah.
they had the last two things I want to mention just because they were
Mhm.
like they were cool.
Uh huh.
Um, I guess it's mainly one, but it's nice they do have. It's really nothing to talk about. I think it's just nice that they'll have a simultaneous English dub and a Japanese
They
dub.
did. Yeah, they did mention that.
So, because that's one of the things where, like, I think Sekiro is. I think it's best if you listen to it in the original Japanese. But I mean, I'm used to watching a lot of Japanese shows just with subtitles. But
Same. Yeah.
it's obvious because, like, I mean, Sekiro has a lot of deep Japanese mythology and lore, and it's just a nice bit of authenticity.
Right.
Mhm.
But the other thing that was, I think, cool because it kind of shows off that the developers Sucker Punch really do appreciate that kind of samurai era. Is there's like the samurai film mode,
Yeah.
basically, where everything is just black and white,
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
and it
cool.
looks like you're playing a Japanese samurai
I
film
thought that was
because
pretty cool. I was like, that's
yeah,
a cool touch.
it was like a cool
Dude.
little touch, and I really respect that.
Speaking of, the game looks beautiful. Like it looks
Yes, game is
colored.
gorgeous.
Man, there's moments when they just show the moment a game has a photo mode, they know they have something that's like gorgeous as fuck.
Is this coming on new consoles
Nope.
or
PS4.
okay?
PS4.
Okay.
Comes out in what, June or July? One of the,
Yeah,
it's
I
either
think July.
June 20th or July 20th.
I think it's the same day as
One of those J's.
Paper Mario. Which,
Oh, for real?
Yo, yeah.
yeah,
Oh man, I'm so excited about
that's another
that.
one I know you want. I was gonna say we could bring that up too. That's cool. But yeah, game's beautiful. I can't wait. I want more.
Agreed. Yeah.
Ian, you have anything you want to talk about? Harrison and I kind of have the same thing, so might as
Yeah.
well.
Dude,
Two birds, one stone.
Yeah, I figured.
I haven't heard too much. The Paper Mario thing, like
I was gonna say I just mentioned that.
yeah, that's about it. And I'm just a huge, like, through and through. I'm a Nintendo fanboy.
I hope
so-
honestly, I hope it's good because the last one was like okay.
Yeah,
I didn't even play it that long because I was like, this is kind of boring. But like the first
Yeah.
two have like a special place in my heart, and they're
Agreed.
so good. So
agreed.
I love same as you. I really want this to be good. Like I love Paper Mario.
Here's
So
the whoever is in charge of the writing for those games is on a level of they're on a level of something, and I wish I could get there. Like, it's so bad but good.
it's
Like,
bad, but
It's
it's
the
good. because
Nintendo
they're-
writing.
Yeah, it's Nintendo. Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
like, but they're so punny and it's so bad.
Mhm. It's
That's
like,
great.
yeah, it's punny. It's just ridiculous. Like,
It has a charm. Though.
it,
has
it matches like the theme. Yeah, like it's Paper Mario. It's like, oh, this is completely ridiculous premise, right? And so like the writing just matches that so well.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm with you though. I do hope
because I saw the
it's
combat.
better.
I saw like they had a quick glimpse of the combat. I don't know how that works, and I don't know if that's going to be a good thing or a bad thing. So I guess
I
we'll
haven't
just see.
actually seen that. I need to
It's
look
like
that up.
you'll watch the trailer again. They're going to have a rotating wheel, and I don't know if that means it's combat or not. That's the other
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Like if you go back and watch like the trailer, they're gonna have like a ring of like enemies, and I can't tell if that's the actual combat system or if it's just a special like thing that's happening, like a part in the story that you just happen to have to do, like a puzzle, or yeah. So
Okay. Yeah. Huh. Yeah. Because I like. I mean, I don't like the combat for 1 and 2 is great. Like,
yeah, exactly.
I don't think it's something that needs to be changed.
3 was kind of weird because it's been a long time because that was on the Wii, and when I played it, I think it was like the whole shtick of that one was like 3D. So it was like, oh, you can change perspectives,
Yeah.
and it was like real time like fighting, like you can just move around versus the RPG.
Yeah. I think
Okay.
that's the main thing why I liked 1 and 2 so much. Excuse me. It's just that it is more of the classic RPG, like turn-based
Yeah.
system.
Yeah. But regardless, super hyped. Also coming out the same day as Ghost of Tsushima, so thought that was kind of funny.
It's like this super hardcore, like, warrior bloodbath, or this, like, hey, fun times with paper and friends.
It's going to be the second coming of Animal Crossing Doom, where
Exactly.
we see Paper Mario and Ghost just become the new, like, hand-holding franchise of June.
And like, because when they announced the date, I was like, are they doing this on purpose at this point?
Just
Yeah, right.
feeding into it.
I will say it's interesting. For this one, it seems like they doubled down on the like, because in the second one, your powers were like, oh, it's a curse, and you can like fold yourself and stuff. And now they're
Yeah.
going like hardcore into the origami like
Origami's bad.
stuff.
Folding
So,
is bad.
yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
the
It was so
origami
funny 'cause,
king.
we were talking. I was talking to my brother, and he like, because my mom's super into origami, and she was like, we are like talking. She knows that like as a kid we both loved Paper Mario, and we're like, oh, there's a new one coming out, and she was like, oh yeah, and we're like, origami's in it. She was excited until we said, oh yeah, and it's a bad thing. Like they're the enemies. Like they're evil. And she was like, she was like, she was actually distraught. It was hilarious.
Aw,
Like,
for a
oops.
moment.
Yeah.
It's okay. If I know any better, it's gonna be like, the origami king's bad. Oh wait, there's an actual evil bad guy. You know.
I just thought it was funny to see Bowser folded up, but like still
Yeah.
following the
Right.
I'm in.
Oh man. Yeah. It looks promising. So hopefully.
All right. Well, in that case, we're gonna go and take a little break. So stand up, stretch, get some water, and we'll
I
be
know I have
back
to
in
be.
we'll be back in just a few to talk about our main topic. We'll catch you then. All right. Welcome back from the break, everybody. Hope everybody had a good little stretchy stretch. But right now, we're going to jump into our main topic for today, which I wanted to talk about difficulty in video games. I know it's something the three of us have talked about, and I figure it's interesting enough for other people to listen to.
Let's delve into it.
Heck yeah.
I want to start off by I think it's part of because games as a service type games are becoming more prevalent, but the whole bullet sponge enemy archetype, specifically, I wanted to start talking with what was it, maybe a month or two ago, maybe a month. Destiny 2 introduced their Grandmaster Nightfall difficulty, which, quick rundown, Nightfalls are just enhanced version of strikes in Destiny. Grandmaster is the hardest difficulty and comes with a minimum light level requirement of 1095. And controversially, I think, in my opinion, there really is no point in doing well in them. You basically will get the maximum reward from doing Grandmaster Nightfall as long as you just complete it once, and that's all you need to do.
Oh.
But part of why I think a lot of people were disappointed in the Grandmaster Nightfall wasn't a new strike at all. It's just same old strikes we've seen, just quote unquote harder.
Yeah. And strikes, for just to expand on that, are essentially just story missions like that you've probably played in the campaign.
Yeah.
And it's just sequences of like, whatever mission you're playing. So
Yeah.
But yeah, starting off, I know none of us have done a Grandmaster Nightfall because the light level is 1025, but what would you expect from something like that? Because for me, like, starting off the conversation, I feel like one, Bungie just kind of missed their mark because besides raids, there really is no pinnacle PvE activity, which is fine. But Grandmaster could have been a nice sidestep to that because generally, in every other difficulty in a Nightfall, you're rewarded for how well you do in terms of how many enemies you killed, if you've killed all the champions, if anybody's died or not. And if you do well, you get a higher score. Higher score means you have better rewards. But in Grandmaster, the score actually doesn't matter. It's just as long as you finish it, then it will count towards the triumph, which is really the only reason you do a Grandmaster Nightfall.
So it's just like,
it's a
finish it,
checkbox.
just complete it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And That oh man, like I in all the games I play that tend to be some sort of multiplayer game or MMO light looter shooter thing. I love doing pinnacle PV activities
Mm-hmm.
for like the challenge of it, and that's where you would expect to get the best rewards.
Mm-hmm.
And Grandmaster Nightfall's reward basically the same thing as always. It's same as like a Master Nightfall, which is you might like high chance for an exotic and then ascendant shards. There's
Mm-hmm.
no exclusive content, and I that makes me really sad.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Agreed.
Yeah, it would have been cool to see some kind of like, oh, you get if you complete that, you get a chance to get or you get drops of this like super cool looking armor
Yeah,
gun or
like
something.
unique armor, a ship, a ghost,
Yeah.
and even that because like the enemies aren't any different either. That's what the enemies are the same and the mechanics are the same. So you're like, yeah, it's not a raid, but you would think in something that's so high end. I don't know. It makes me disappointed.
Because you'd expect like for a raid, you have a full team. You actually understand the puzzles. You don't have to worry about too much about kind of armor you're running. You'd expect for a Grandmaster Nightfall that you have to optimize your armor set. You have to optimize the best build you can do. Exactly. This is how they
Yeah.
market it. They're like saying this is for those that want to do the best. You have to know the game essentially.
Mm.
It should feel rewarding to know like, oh, instead of like
It's like
just yeah. I
I haven't played it, but I equate it in my mind to like legendary in Halo and like running
yeah.
Right.
running legendary with like all the skulls on, that kind of stuff. I loved doing that because like the stakes were like super high. You were like died in one shot. It was like adrenaline pump. You're like, oh shit, like oh I'm gonna die any moment. It was really fun. The risks. It was all about the risks.
it's like
Um,
there's risks. It's like because I watched Dado play, I watched like a few other streamers play just to like see him do it. It's
mhm.
hard. It's for me. It's of course they're good at the game, so that's one thing probably. But then
Right.
there's some that are cheating it. It's hilarious. But like
Oh,
if it were me playing, it'd probably be super difficult. But I
Yeah,
also
like
just
I think that's where using Halo Legendary with all the skulls an example is that was fun, but then having watched Grandmaster, it's not because unless you cheese it like one of the Destiny guys Glad did,
mhm.
it is legitimately everything one shots you. So you're just sitting around corners taking pot shots.
yeah.
Oh, so it's okay.
Like their difficulty spike was absurdly beefy enemies and the
Mhm.
damage is so amped up. Like you don't even see that in the raid.
Yeah.
Like
Mm,
It's not
besides
even
bosses in raids, nothing is that incredibly tanky.
yeah.
huh. Okay. So you think
Like
the enemies are like over?
Everything's overtuned to make it
Yeah.
make it
like
difficult.
they purposely made it obnoxiously difficult,
Mm,
which
But
is
like it's not like
like
a mechanical difficult like a raid. Raids are like mostly the enemies are relatively the same. You got like some harder enemies to fight along the way, but
mhm,
most time the hard part of the raid is just doing everything as a team.
mhm,
yeah, like so using Garden as an example, at the end of the first before you get to the first boss, there's that point where you have to run through the field and the Cyclops is one shot you.
mm,
Like, okay, that's it. It's part of the mechanic, but
right.
it's not every single Cyclops and every single encounter one shots you.
Yeah.
Whereas if you go Grandmaster, a Cabal Cyan will just look at you and you die because it's designed. Yeah, it's using a sniper, but it's just designed to one shot you.
Yeah.
And like
I
that's
can.
not numbers increases are, in my opinion, one of the worst ways
Mm,
to make
mhm.
something more difficult.
Mhm.
I yeah. Yeah, I kind of agree because like you have some a totally different game, but what is it? Monster Hunter. They have like different variations of the same monster, but it has like additional like move sets or little tweaks to the existing move set that makes it really interesting and really intriguing as a
Yeah,
player.
or even like if you go into um sometimes even with tempered monsters, yeah, it
Mm.
does more damage, but they have less health to compensate. So it becomes like the risk reward becomes a little higher, but it's not obnoxious to the point of except maybe barring Lunastra.
Yeah.
But
But I guess it's hard to do in like a shooter, right?
Yeah,
Because
that's what I was gonna say. It'd
like
be
because Monster Hunter is more of like
yeah,
a fighting game, quote unquote, whereas this is more of
yeah,
like a
it's a shooter. And yeah,
yeah.
like th- it's towing a fine line to make it difficult, but I feel like they should have done something like the skulls in Halo where they're just
Mm,
weird new little quirks like,
mm.
I mean,
oh, if
that's
you
the
want to do a
modifier.
grandmaster and you reload your gun while there's still ammo, you lose all that ammo. You're doing a quote unquote realistic
Okay.
reload. So it
Oh
makes you
yeah,
like, yeah, you can't just spam your shots.
Yeah.
like
Or
a
and then it becomes like,
Wildlands kind
oh,
of
I
thing.
have to keep special ammo for very special occasions. I can't just use my Arianas for every shot. It's like if I miss, I miss, and that's bad.
Mm. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
making
like
like adding some like survival aspects into it, like
yeah,
restricted ammo, stuff like that, things where your resources are limited and you
because
have to
I'm
deal with
gonna
that.
bounce back to Division for just a second. But the
Mhm,
way, yeah, when you go higher up in difficulty, the enemies are beefier,
mhm.
but the certain tiers of enemies they act differently.
Mhm.
Like regular shotgunners, like they just rush you with shotguns. But if you have like a gold tier shotgunner, they throw grenades before they run at you. So they're like flushing you out of cover.
Oh,
It's like, oh, it's
interesting.
different. Or if you're running a heroic one, they use shock grenades instead of just regular. So like, oh, okay, now I really need to get out of this spot
Mm,
instead of like trying to tank. And as you go up in difficulty, you don't see as many common enemies. You see more specialists. Like instead of one grenadier and 3 foot soldiers, it's 3 grenadiers and a captain,
mhm.
and they all fight differently. So like even within the encounter itself that you would expect, like running through a mission, like, oh, I know 4 guys spawn there. If you go a heroic, it's 1 guy spawns there, but the 3 others come in a different angle. Like, oh, okay, it's different. Like the Grandmaster difficulty is literally just the exact same thing with more champions.
Yeah. I think the harder part is like with Destiny, Division is more tactical in a sense. It feels like because every time
There's cover. Yeah,
there's
there's
more
cover.
cover, there is way more mechanics to like actually play around with, and I think that's the issue with Destiny is like most like when you fight a certain enemy, like they have little things where like prevents
Yeah.
teleport, but what else? This one does this, but what else? It's like there's not much variety they can do, and I think that's just like the corner that they backed themselves into,
Hmm.
in that now all they can do is kind of add more, but beef them up.
Yeah.
It's which kind of sucks for what you're getting at the end. It's just, and then the other thing is like it's difficult for what reason? Like you're just doing it
Yeah.
just to do it at that point.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
no reward. Versus like if you play Monster Hunter, you're doing it because you're trying to get better materials, if
Certain
anything.
armor,
Mhm.
yeah,
Better
yeah.
armor, and then like Division's probably same. Most time you get better rewards, and I think that's where the controversy is. Is this is a hard mode, but is it
The
hard? But
yeah.
there's it's hard for like nothing. Like I'm not. There's no point in doing.
You would want some kind of incentive
Like
for
even doing a raid, the raid, you're getting raid gear.
yeah,
Like while
exactly.
here it's like it's just strike stuff, which hopefully they've touched on how they're gonna fix
They're
it,
gonna revamp it. Yeah.
revamp a lot of stuff, but it's always they say it, but I just want to see it actually work, type of thing. So, and that
Right.
just comes with games as a service in general. I think is trying to like, and we've mentioned this in our previous podcast before, in that having it evolve, but how much can you change before it becomes too much?
Mhm.
Yeah.
How
But
much can you make it difficult? But
yeah,
that's
and I want to move away from Destiny and Division. I want to talk about like some single player games because since you've been playing a lot of Ori, Ian, because Ori does have a hard
Yeah.
mode, doesn't it?
Yeah, it fucking does. And it's hard. Um,
just want
yeah,
to.
I really enjoy those, and that's just I guess just me as like with playing games, I enjoy just being challenged, and so I'll gravitate towards like the even if it's like, hey, maybe you should lower this because It's a little ridiculous, at least for your ability right now. But
Backstory to add on to that, just to give everyone else listening context. This is like Ian's thing is always playing the hardest difficulty, which is fine. But
yeah,
I think the
play
funniest
a
thing I've
hard
seen was funniest shit I've seen was God of War. He plays the hardest difficulty, and the thing is, me playing it already. I watched him start at the beginning with like the hardest difficulty. Him not knowing any of the mechanics, and you have to like learn the mechanics on the hardest level. And it's like, oh, if I was playing, I totally know what to do in this situation. But watching Ian fumble for like 2 hours just to get to a certain point,
yeah, something like that.
just to get to
I think I played it was between like 2 and 4 hours, and
what you beat.
when I played it one like level down, I got to there in like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, but you beat the first boss.
yeah.
That's the one thing I was like, damn, you beat the first boss, learning shit. So anyway, I thought that just to give context why I'm laughing in the background.
It was rough. But see, something like that is like, yeah, I beat that boss because I learned his mechanics and stuff. I learned his behaviors, and I was able to like react to it. But the part that I had to quit at was it was basically a bunch of smaller enemies that just swarmed you. And it's like, how do I can't deal with that. I don't know the game like well enough, and I don't know the mechanics well enough to like deal with that. So after dying like 20 something times at that, I was just like, all right, ego check. Let's bring it down a notch.
But with Ori, like, do you like playing on the hard mode?
I do, yeah. I can't remember if
Do they know what the difference? Do you know what the difference are between normal and hard?
There's one more above that, right?
Do what?
Wasn't there like normal hard then something above that? Is it not what you did?
I don't remember.
Is there something that like it boots you out of the game because you died?
Yeah. You're right. It's the hardcore mode where it's like if you die, you just restart.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I did that, and then I died, and I was like, well, we're gonna take a step down. Another ego check number 2.
Ego check number 2.
Yeah. But I find it's so fun because it's like the stakes are high, so it's
You feel like you just don't get the same rush if you're not on the edge.
yeah. There's a different feeling for sure. I still enjoy like the lower difficulty of Ori. Like I still enjoy it, and I'm gonna play through it on that one. But yeah, it's just a different rush, I guess, that I get with difficulty.
It's the same thing with a few of my friends really like when there's a hardcore mode on any game, like hardcore Diablo or hardcore Path of Exile.
Yeah.
Just because the game basically just grabs you and like you have to pay attention to me right now.
So really quick, because I'm curious, because I know Ian likes going in like just blind playing hardcore at times. Luke, do you like doing the same thing?
I don't think I've ever jumped straight into hardcore.
Okay. Because I'm the type of person that if it's a game, like most of the time for single player games, I'd rather just play like on the quote unquote whatever normal difficulty they have just to experience the game. And then once I play through it, I'll bump it up if I feel like playing the game again.
Part of my enjoyment of hardcore is like, yeah, I get the rush of like, oh, if I mess up, I die.
Yeah.
But it's also, there's the added effect of when I'm playing hardcore, it's usually because I know the game.
Exactly.
And so I kind of have to know like, oh, if I died, it's my fault.
Yeah, same.
And so it's just another level of enjoyment because I can respect the game enough and I can respect myself enough to know, yes, I know this game well enough to play hardcore. And then if I lose, then yep, that was my fault.
Agreed. Yeah, I was just curious.
Something for me is I tend to not. There aren't a whole lot of games that I've replayed. So it's kind of like Ori. When I finish Ori, I don't think I'm gonna go back and play, at least for a long time.
You're not a New Game Plus person.
Yeah, not really. And if I am, it would be like a year later or something like that I'll jump back into it.
I think
the two games. Go ahead.
No, yeah, go on. I was just gonna head on to new games.
Yeah, just the few games that I have like played a lot of. It's like a lot of the specific same games, like it's certain Zelda games that I've played through again and again just because I love them. But it's not, yeah. It's just certain things, and those have been like long breaks in between that I've like restarted. So I think that's
Yeah.
why I jump into hardcore a lot and then realize my mistake again. And
Every time. But I was gonna say, like, even with New Game Plus, like if you leave the game, you're like, oh, I'll probably play it later. I don't think you would go back for New Game Plus. Because then
Yeah.
you have to relearn the game kinda too.
Yeah,
'Cause
yeah, right.
I tried doing that with like one of the Batman games because it had a New Game Plus mode. And I finished the game. I think I went back a year later because I was in a mood. I was like, oh, I've beat the game. Let's just play New Game Plus.
hmm
I quickly realized I'm like, oh, I don't remember how to play this game at all.
You're like, shit.
Like the challenge is
shoot.
already just me relearning the game. And I'm like, man, I remember doing well at this section, and it would take me like maybe 5 minutes. I'm still here, type of thing.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like I imagine I like Dark Souls a lot, so I imagine I might go back and play the New Game Plus for that, but we'll see. Like because relearning a game like that, or like getting used to like how that game works, unless I've been like let's say I go from playing a Souls like going back to Dark Souls, it would be like, oh, okay, yeah, I kind of know how this works, but depends.
Yeah, only for like New Game Plus is always, to me, it always just feels like a victory lap to me
Yeah.
because it's like I've mastered the game. And at
Mhm.
that point, yeah, give me the hardest challenge. Like if you want to give me a boss that one shots me, fine. I should know how to fight the boss by now, kind of thing.
Gotcha.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's only when my one of my biggest enjoyments from games is just mastering the game, like in Dark Souls.
hmm
It's I figured out the game, I'm in the zone, I'm loving it, and
hmm
then yeah, give me every single boss, it'll be fine. I can do it just
Maybe
because
just slap
I'm
them
in that
around.
zone. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's for
I
me.
feel that.
That's New Game Plus, and then that's kind of like why um, I like roguelikes so much.
hmm
Is it there is that trial and error period. Then you just hit that point of, yep, I understand the game,
hmm Yeah,
and
you
then
like die a whole bunch at the beginning, and then you're like, oh, okay, I kind
yeah,
of figure out how
like
this works
like with
now.
Slay the Spire, it's I need to figure out that if not taking every single card I'm given, that's bad because
Yeah.
then I have a deck of 38 cards and I don't get the cards I need. So
hmm
it's learning, and then it just you get to the point where you've known so many builds
hmm
that you could play on. I'm not at that point yet, but one of the Twitch streamers I really like, she's really good at card games because she
hmm
plays every single card game. But she'll just play Ascension 20, and within like the first 2 or 3 encounters, she's like, "Yeah, I already have a build in mind. I just need these things."
Dang, that's wild, dude. I'm only at Ascension 3. I think that's my highest
Yeah,
one.
I'm at Ascension 13, and it's
Oh shit.
brutal. But yeah, it's to that point of like, there's the point where like, yeah, I get screwed over by RNG,
hmm
but someone who's even better is like, RNG doesn't exist for me. I just know how to win.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's kind of crazy.
That's nice.
And I think that's where,
RNG manipulation.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like it's that added element where I really like roguelikes, and I'm kind of glad that roguelikes are just here's the game. There's no like, oh, you want the story mode? Like here's story mode. You can just play the game and blah blah blah.
hmm
Like it's a game that forces you to play it without any like any option.
hmm
Because even like I still really want to play Hades, but Hades is
Same.
like a
Yeah.
pretty hard game, and it doesn't really hold your hand. It just
Yeah.
it's the quintessential get good game.
It really is.
Yeah.
And I don't think my enjoyment of it would be as high if I knew like it's a weird nitpick, but when I see a difficulty slider in some games, I'm just like, meh.
Oh.
Like RPGs, it's fine
hmm
because like I'm not gonna begrudge someone. I just want to play the story because my girlfriend generally she plays RPGs to play the story,
hmm
so she picks like easy mode, and that's fine. But like when I play a game, I'm like, give me hard difficulty every time. But then some games just do better when like I don't think the Dark Souls series would be the Dark Souls series if there was a easy, normal, hard mode.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think the fact that it was like we're forcing you to play at this level, it definitely gained like that's
Yeah.
where a lot of its notoriety came from. Yeah.
Agreed.
What I know because I've talked more about this with Ian. Harrison, do you have a game in mind that you really like that is really hard?
Oh man, yeah. I was actually thinking about that for this topic. That's and that's the thing. I'm not the type of player to like look for a stupid hard game because I'm kind of like I kind of look for like, oh, um is the story like if this is in regards to single player games. So if it's like the story, is the story good? Is the gameplay fun at least? I I don't look for the hardest difficulty, if anything. Um
So you
I
more
think
look for like, is it fun? Like, can I explore and do my own
yeah, but I
thing in
think
it?
I think because I did play God of War like on the harder difficulty,
Uh huh.
and I think just anything with mechanics, like having to deal with that, because I don't play those games as often because I
Right.
usually play like platformers or anything. Actually, platforming. Trying to
Oh, there are some hard
yeah,
Yeah.
I was like thinking I've been thinking about like action games. I'm like, there's not that many games that like do anything hard, but if anything, platforming games, yes. Because I've been doing
Yeah, like,
like
I think the one everybody kind of knows is Super Meat Boy.
yes,
Yeah.
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 Just playing yeah, because I remember playing that a while back. And
Dude, some of the levels I've been watching a lot of Mario Maker 2 recently. Some of the levels in there are just insane.
yeah,
Like
Yeah,
I'll
those are
watch
for the
a
masochists. I will
yeah.
I would never wanna learn something
I
like
would
that.
yeah, I would and I think that's where it's like what's considered difficult to me is like probably like platforming, but I find it enjoyable. Right?
Mm,
Like some people
mhm,
just don't like it, but I think it's just there's a fun aspect of like you get through the level and
mhm.
you just feel accomplished. Like
Yeah.
that's what like I know you guys like Monster Hunter and all that, and I think for me it's like that's cool. You get to fight essentially a boss every time,
Mhm.
but I think after a while I think that's cool. I just
To me, I think it's the same thing for me. It's like, um, you beating like a level. It's like, oh yes, I precisely inputted all these inputs, and I was able to like get through these really tough obstacles. And it's the same thing for like a monster hunter. It's like I precisely like recognized an attack was coming and was able to input my way out of it. Like
Mhm.
that, like it has that similar like it evokes the same like
Yeah. No, it is. Yeah.
satisfying feeling, I guess. Or at least for me, they feel like I can see an equal equation, an equal
Equivalence.
equivalence. Yes,
Dude,
there's a word.
I'm just I'm listening. I've just been listening to you. If anything, I didn't hear. I'm like this is fun.
The
There's a word.
hardest game is figuring out what Ian is gonna say.
The
Yeah,
hardest
but
game is language,
hard
English.
because the games that I've been playing, I guess the hardest game, and I think that's the hardest thing for me is just figuring out like I don't look for
What the hardest game?
yeah. I'm like it's so difficult for me right now to think about it.
Mhm.
And I was just like right now I just look for what's difficult in a game, but it's like certain mechanics. I think that's just it really.
Mm.
But I don't look for
Yeah, give an example.
so like right now even like just even playing like Final Fantasy, I was watching someone else play like a higher level. Actually,
Uh-huh.
no, here. So better one. I now remember. So Batman.
Yeah.
That so a lot of games with that, like it's the combat's like super easy and free flowing if you just play on a normal difficulty. But the moment they turn off the HUD, for instance, like you don't get the cues,
Oh.
you have to like read your surrounding and you're surrounded
Uh-huh.
like by like 15 guys.
Uh-huh.
And essentially just dealing with like certain combat scenarios and that or like even like their predator mode it's harder because for instance there's more guys that don't deal with like you can't use your typical tactics on like oh I just take out this guy in this corner and then I can just go through but now this guy actually has something that inhibits me from like using my radar for instance or like
Mm.
sonar and I can't figure out the layout of the room like you normally would so I think for me, I like that kind of thing. Now that I think about it more, so even Assassin's Creed, I like how if I can clear the room without like getting detected for anything. So even Hitman was like another one that was really difficult for me at the time, just because I never really played Hitman that much. So because I played that on the hardest difficulty also, and yeah, I
Would you
guess
say it's also like when we played I forgot what the mode's called, but it's Wildlands, and we played
Oh,
the
ghost mode.
Ghost
yeah
Mode, yeah,
yeah
Basically,
yeah
it
yeah
was their version of a permadeath.
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I think that's fine. I think it's more like I think I like puzzles more, if anything. Now that I think about it more and more.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like
So
just
like
things that you have to like think really hard about
yeah.
to
So
like
like
figure out.
I
Yeah,
think that's
especially
why I like
I kind of get where he's getting at because
it's
like when you take away the easy mode tools,
Mhm.
mhm,
what you're left with is just like how well you can just play the game minute to
no,
minute.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, because I think Batman was one of the few like the Arkham series was like one of the few games I actually did go back and play like the hardest mode
Mhm.
just because it was just a nice change and I like how like the mechanics played. So like just
Yeah.
clearing your room and like them change like it's like how Luke described like Division, like oh they changed certain things in the room
Mm.
and that's just like now you have to
Yeah,
think
like
differently.
one of I think a really good way this type of like puzzle action game was done was in Splinter Cell Conviction.
Conviction.
You
Ooh.
had your there was a separate game mode where you played as Archer Kestrel and you had to go through like a mini mission
Yeah.
and you could make it harder for yourself by oh if I'm detected I immediately lose
Hmm.
or I can only use a pistol or I can't use any tools. And yeah, it's like when you take away the easy mode tools, you have to like pay attention to certain cues because if you disabled your radar tool in Conviction and you played on the hardcore difficulty, there would
Hmm.
be invisible infrared lasers that you could trip that would alert people, and so you'd
Right.
lose immediately. So instead, you'd have to listen for like an audible whining and like, okay, that door has a laser in it, and I'm only gonna assume. And so you like it just changes the way you can approach because before, if you don't care about being detected, you can just run in with a gun and shoot everything.
Mm.
But
Exactly.
if you're like true stealth is, oh, this entire hallway is gone for me, and that's the
Mhm.
best hallway. So I have to think of something else to do.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just like Hitman does the same thing where I think I can't remember which one it was, but essentially it rewarded you for doing everything correctly.
Mhm.
Or the game typically rewards you better like if you do like figure out how to get to your point, you can do it however you want, how to assassinate this guy. But the hard part would be like if you up the difficulty, there's certain things that are missing or it's positioned differently.
Yeah.
So
It's
yeah.
like get from A to B.
Yeah.
These are this is what you have at your disposal, go for it kind of thing.
Yeah.
I thought it was stupid. It's like regular gameplay is answers questions. Your test is 5 questions, just A, B, C, D, E. And then the hardcore is you have 5 questions, and you're like, oh god. And you
You
look,
have
question A is A1, A2, A3,
Yeah.
A. It's like, oh god.
Or it's
which
like
question do you answer?
question 1 is like write a 3-page essay. It's like, oh,
Yeah, I'm just like, oh, this kind of game.
But
man. Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I love those things. I like part of what makes games fun, I think inherently is just that they are difficult. It's like
mhm,
solving a puzzle. But
yeah, I think that's where
What's
that's kind of why I like raids too, just because like you have to do things like
mm,
mechanically to get to the next part.
yeah.
mhm.
I think that's why I always like just gravitate towards that. But if you want to get super technical about it, technically PvP is the hardest one because you don't fight against a computer, you fight
Play
against another
against other
person.
people.
Yeah, I was
Who
thinking
knows
about
what they're
that.
doing?
I was
Yeah.
thinking about that earlier. It's like it's weird. There's a different type of difficulty. Like playing League, for instance, it's like the difficulty between
Bots.
bots and a person. Or like the difficulty between like a game, like a puzzle based game
Mhm.
like Portal versus like a skills based game like League of Legends
I
or
also say
something
like
like
even
that.
between puzzles, like there's a difference between just playing Tetris and then playing Tetris against someone else.
Yeah.
Have you guys tried
Yeah.
that on a Switch?
Once.
Uh-huh.
I did it
Yeah.
once.
Dude,
Same.
it's
I
insane.
hate Tetris.
Dude, I remember I played like
It's wild.
there's a versus version as well,
Mhm.
and a lot of people used to play it on Facebook, I think, back like in college. And
Mm.
it was just always like the 1v1, like you just play whoever can finish it
Yep.
faster. Yeah. But it's actually
1v1 me and
99.
Tetris.
Yeah, Tetris 99, essentially that.
Yeah.
It's
Whichever one
crazy.
it was fun. It was like I
And
always
like
get like top 5 and it was just stressful.
Mhm.
it's always fun. It's fun and aggravating at the same time
Mhm.
when it is against someone else, like with
Yeah.
any game,
So, yeah.
because that's like, oh, suddenly this character I'm used to playing can do everything I can do. Like playing in a fighting game, if you're like, oh, I'm gonna play Smash Bros. And here's a Marth bot, level 9, I crush him. But then
And
you
then
watch like the number one rated Marth player in Smash, you're like, why does he get to do that? Like you don't understand what he's doing. It's like the
Mhm.
bots never do this.
wait, he's under the stadium and he's
Yeah,
fine.
he's fighting. He's floating underneath the stadium. That's why it's always I really liked the hunter enemies in Division 2
Mm.
because they're the closest resembling bot enemy to an actual player because they have the same like the exact same skill set as a player. So it's like,
Oh,
okay, that's actually kind of cool. Like they still
Dude.
play unlike a human, but it's the closest.
mm.
This is getting a little like to build off that. This is getting a little like more tech side of things, but when we get like you know how I think it was for Dota, I can't remember, but exactly, but they had a machine learning AI that like learned the game basically
Hmm.
and then played against like some top pros and it beat like every single one of them
Yeah,
almost. To have that like so take like one of your hunters
that'd be
and
scary.
put that in and it like learns how you play and like how to fight you, that'd be so cool and so terrifying. That'd be
They try to
awesome.
do that in horror games, which I think is really cool.
Mhm.
Like there's certain horror games where like, oh, if you tend to hide in this specific area, the monster checks these areas first.
Really? I haven't heard
Yeah.
about that. That's sick. That's so cool.
It's
That's
it never works
Perfectly.
right.
perfectly in game,
Yeah.
but like it's that idea of like it's learning from you,
Yeah.
which would be awesome.
But we're moving towards that though, because if you notice, like a lot of
Slowly,
like,
yeah.
I think isn't that in Smash also where the higher level bot technically learns somewhat
S-
like your pattern.
Yes, but they also cheat because
Oh,
I swear level 9 bots they're actually reading your inputs. Because if
oh,
you like when I was
Oh.
learning Byleth,
Uh-huh.
I would never hit smashes on Byleth because they would just be like if you notice they always perfect parry.
yeah, that's
The
true.
bots never just guard, they will always perfect parry. So like something's not right there.
Huh.
So like
Something's
I swear they're
wonky.
reading your inputs just for kicks.
Yeah, but
Damn.
difficult. Yeah, you guys got me thinking. I'm like, man, what was the last actual
See,
hard game?
I was gonna throw out the opposite. Like, what's the easiest game you played that you still really liked?
Ooh.
Easiest game.
That I really liked.
Yeah, because like there's some
I mean,
easy games where like because I know like we talked about this before, but Ian, you don't like the Dynasty Warrior games.
I really don't. And
ooh,
And
I
like I mean I
think
haven't played one in years, but like I consider those really easy games.
yeah. And I think that honestly is why I don't like them is because I'm just like wading into a bunch of enemies. Like for the most part,
Smash.
nothing can kill. Like I mean, I know the heroes, especially like Lubu's really fucking hard, but it never. I guess I never feel the like high
Challenge.
stakes or tension of it or challenge. Yeah, it's just always kind of like, all right, yeah, I'm swinging my thing around, hitting a bunch of people. Yeah,
I think the easy. This is like I'm not thinking super hard right now because I'm still thinking in my head.
Mhm.
But when I play Legends of Runeterra against bots, it's like it's not so easy that they just roll over and die. But I've like never lost against a bot because I'm smarter than a robot. That just like
Mhm.
if card X outplay this card Y, and like it's mainly just for me to like how does this deck work in practice. So it's fun for me because I'm thinking, but it's not even like the game itself isn't that engaging.
Mhm. Something
Um,
that's coming in my head is like turn-based RPGs. Um, like some of them can be like really hard, but
yeah,
if it's like some of them can be really really easy, where it's like you're just going through the story or whatever, and you don't have to do anything really. You're just pushing buttons. I can't think of anything specific, but I know I've had that feeling before where it's just like, all right, cool. I'm just pressing the same
you're just
attack.
going through the motions.
Yeah, I'm just
It's the
pressing the
easiest
same
game.
attack
It's
button.
everybody just hits melee attack, and that's how you win. You don't have to do anything else.
Exactly. Yeah.
No. The easiest game that I enjoyed last time was AFK Arena, where you just
Oh, I
like
forgot
where
about the enjoyment part. Yeah.
you just like
You play the game by
hey
not playing the game for 8 hours.
hey.
Log on, push buttons, like all right, I'm done.
I mean, I enjoyed it.
Wait, I'm blanking. What is?
No, it's that mobile game where you just
Yeah, that
let them like
Oh,
attack.
yeah.
That's technically the easiest game that I've had fun with.
Disagree. That is so hard, dude. You have to
that game was really hard.
level up your character. You get to a point where you have to just like you either sit at one level for like 3
Ever.
weeks,
Yeah.
or you put money into that, and they won't let you.
I was gonna say a lot of those like auto battlers is just really like
But
they're
I do
not
agree. Yeah.
like I guess to me it's like it's not difficult because all you have to do is
No.
just make the team,
Hmm.
but then it's like there's no I
Right.
think that's
Well, it's not difficult. Yeah, because you're not like putting any
you're not doing too
skill in it. It's all just like, is my team strong enough?
yeah.
Yeah, it's just a numbers thing.
It's just
Yeah.
a number.
Yeah. And there is
God, I
like a
forgot
little
about
bit
that
of
game.
strategy. Yeah, I did too. Holy
I mean,
But
I wish
yeah,
I could.
like once you get into the
I
PvP
wish I
aspect,
could.
that's when it gets like
Yeah, that's when it's like
really hard.
Yeah, because that's when you get the strategy of like team comps and stuff like that, which can make it
Yeah.
more interesting and
the
hard.
the hilarious part. The only reason why I remembered it was because I think I still get ads for it. So
Oh, really?
I'm like, wow, I played this game. Please stop.
Please stop. I don't want to come back.
I don't want to
Or
come back.
do
Please
I?
don't.
Oh man,
It's all
God,
online game
we were all playing that for a good bit.
Yeah.
That's pretty fun.
forever. It was hilarious. It got bad to the point where I had a second account.
Yeah, no, I did that too. I think I did that because Luke said it's like, dude, I just made. Did you make a second one,
I
or
didn't
am I
make one, but
remembering
like
wrong?
that's what you could do if you didn't like the first champion you got.
Yeah,
Okay, all right, then maybe here. Somebody did it
it was
first, and I
probably
was
me.
like,
It was
yeah,
fun
yeah.
because I
It's like,
did.
ooh, that's a good idea. I'll do
Also, yeah, like if you didn't like the server you were on and stuff.
that.
Mhm.
Mhm. Yeah, and that game, it was fun, but I put I put too much wasted time into that. Just sitting and waiting for things to.
But yeah, because there's a certain point in that game where if you don't pay money, you just have to wait.
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
like, okay, I need to summon this exact unit. If I don't summon this unit, I'm going back to waiting for 2 weeks again.
Exactly.
Pretty much
Uh,
easiest card game.
easy.
Gotta
Yeah.
wait. Yeah,
Yeah.
dude, I
that's
spent so
all I
much time
really
trying to
have.
think about like what was the hardest game I played. I'm like, wow, this is bad.
I don't know. For the hardest one for me, it was probably
You know
Huh.
what? It probably was like God of War, anything like that. Like fighting. Man, there's like this boss. I'm trying to remember. There's a game where I'm like, I know I remember having a tough time with a boss, and it was like, oh, yeah, this fucking Paper Mario. You know why I
Oh,
think that? It's because Ian at one point was, oh yeah, I just walked into the room thinking, oh yeah, it's fine. Like they keep telling you, oh no, you should probably level up. Same thing happened in Paper Mario where you get to the end, and if you don't have a certain thing, you're kind of fucked.
Oh, are you talking about the second one?
Yes.
And it's the like end boss, the queen.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
that was a hard fight. Yeah, I agree.
If anything, like I felt this might just be like this is like every time someone's like, oh, games nowadays are so much easier than before. I'm like, maybe that's probably not wrong.
Yeah,
I'm
I mean,
probably also not playing the right games now that are difficult because I'm not looking for it anymore.
sure. Yeah.
I think that's just the other
I was
thing.
gonna say, like, if people think games from the past are harder, I would just pull up like the modern day bullet hell games.
Oh,
Be like,
Right.
yeah, this ain't easy cheat.
it's an easy. Nah. And I think it's
Modern
just
Hell. Go ahead.
I was just like, yeah, I think it's just because certain games I'm not playing, so I don't think about it too much.
That or pull out like any of the Mario ROM hacks where it's like, oh, those are so nasty, man.
What? Again, watching people play Mario, I will not do it. I'll just watch them because they're probably fucking masochists.
Yeah, dude. I mean, the streamer that I watch is Grand Pooh Bear, and he'll just like his mentality of it is like a bulwark, or like he's like, I may not like it might take me. I'll do it.
It's
It
just
might take me
attrition.
like 5 more hours than someone else, but I will do it. And I'm like, God, that's you're you're ready. You're like prepared, and you're ready to like dig in and just sit there until you get it. Crazy.
Yeah, I think we're probably at the end of our discussion because I think we're all just like thinking of things without talking.
Mhm.
It's now too
So
difficult.
yeah,
It's
let's go
rounded
ahead and
out.
just wrap it up. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. We really appreciate it. If you want to find more of our content, you can search us up on Facebook. We are just SuperBoss Podcast. Same with Twitter, Instagram. Am I missing anything?
Yeah.
I think YouTube. We'll start uploading some of
Yeah.
those on
Keep an eye
this
out
past
for.
week, next week. I mean,
We're working on a YouTube channel. We're gonna hopefully get our own website get set up in the near future. But for now, your best place to get us is Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. We
Yeah.
also have an email for any comments, discussions. You
Mhm.
hate us, you love us.
Yeah.
What's that email, Harrison?
Superbossfeedback@gmail.com. Yeah, anywhere you can find us, just like if you want, just let us know how we're doing. That really does help. Or just even leaving like a review. Anything helps. And if you want to hear us talk about something, just message us. Just something that you're like, oh, you guys haven't talked about this. That's helpful too.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that's all we have for today. Thank you so much again for listening, everybody. We're signing off.
Thanks,
Bye.
guys. See you.